Hey, welcome back to Score on Business. We're still with Clark Vitulli. So, Clark, before the break, you were talking about the importance of the big boss taking ownership of everything.
Everything. That is absolutely right. You're the person in the corner office, as they say. The buck stops with you, and you need to know that before every decision that you make, every phone call, every person that you hire. You know, you're on the line, and it has to be right. Perfect doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be right to be able to move the ball, because ultimately execution is the way you're going to scale this company and how you're going to grow it. So I need to surround myself with the right people. I need to make the right decisions, and you need to think about that. So execution is huge.
And the culture.
Yeah, culture is big too, and they don't talk a whole lot about culture in scaling up, but I'm a believer in good culture, and for me, there's 4 elements that make a great culture in the most successful companies. One of them is growth. You've got to have growth, and of course, scaling up is growth is going to be a big part of that. You also have to have a culture of change. And I know a lot of people, I don't like to change. Then you're in the wrong company if you don't like to change, because you don't grow without change. Whether you're raising a plant or a dog or a management team or a child, if they're going to grow, they're going to be changing along the way. So you've got to accept change. Another one that is a hot topic today, of course, is talking about, trying to think of the word, is just went brain dead. Sorry.
We're talking about culture there.
Yeah, I know. I was talking about culture and scaling, but a key word there is being accountable. Thank you. Accountability. Apologize. Accountability is huge. You have to be accountable to people, you know, whether it's your board or your people that work for you, and so you have to be accountable. And then how do I make everybody around me accountable? You know, that company that we built, a whole bunch of people did that. Started with 0 people, 1 people, and 8 years later I've got 635 people. Well, you got to be accountable to them, and every single one of them has to be accountable to each other.
How do you do that? And I know, I mean, we could talk for a week on that one question.
We do, actually, and there's a lot to that. But being accountable is you got to know what's expected of you first. You can't be accountable. Accountable to what? Well, you got to be accountable to what your role is, what your expectations are. Here's what we believe in you, the job description. And it's part of the hiring process. You know, you do either predictive index or you do DISC, and there's a whole bunch of assessments. You got to know to test people before they even get hired. Actually, do they tend to be accountable? What are their key core essence of their personality? And you can test for that. So if they have the right personality, then likely they're going to be accountable. So that's a big part of it. And the last one is fit.
So we'll get to fit.
That's the fourth.
For companies that are small and growing, are there some of those assessments that are better than others, or do you know about that?
There are close to a dozen today. There's predictive index. Obviously, it's predictive. There's DISC. There's culture index. There's now judgment index. Lots of them, and they all have different purposes and different styles. The oldest, and probably it's the only one that I know of that is actually legal in court to be able to fire somebody based on their PI score. And so predictive index is a good one. But the others, DISC and culture index and judgment index, are good as well. So any one of them, somebody can look up Google and determine which one is the best, which one fits, which one you want to pick. But pick one. It's not having none. None doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, so that's a big one.
Okay. And then the fourth thing you were about to go into, and I interrupted you.
No, not at all. The fourth one is fit. And the indices that you pick to pick these people is a part of that. But then, while I can't interview all 635 employees before they're hired, the people that reported to me and then reported to them and reported to them, they have to know what your culture is. What are you trying to accomplish? What's your goal? What's the timetable? You know, Japanese companies, the great ones, have 100-year plans. You say, 100-year plan? None of the board is going to be there in 100 years. I understand that, but there's a 100-year plan. If you had a 100-year plan, likely you could figure out, therefore, what's my 50-year plan, what's my 50-year plan, and what's my 20, my 10, my 3, my 1. So what is the plan, and how do you infuse that plan into your people so that you can determine if somebody fits? Not that they're going to be here 100 years or 10, but their style, their way of doing business, their way of living is going to be a good fit. So it's growth and change and accountability and fit are really critical in terms of culture. That's what we've seen, and that's what the best companies do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had asked you to talk a little bit about culture. Jumping back to scaling.
Yes. Scaling is important because if you don't have those critical elements and then the others that I add to it relative to your culture, it's going to be difficult because you can have a great idea. And I know this idea is going to work. I've been in such and such an industry for a long time. The ones that have worked have these elements of it, and as long as I've got those, that's great. And so all of a sudden you start to scale and you want to acquire your first company or invent your first widget or an amazing service that needs to be accomplished in the marketplace. Awesome idea, that's terrific. And you think you have enough cash as a backup to be able to launch the company. Or a bank says, we'll loan you some company, or some private equity people do the similar. That has to be tested, it has to be well thought out. What are your game plans? Do you have a 10-year goal, a 3-year goal, a 1-year, quarterly goals, monthly goals, daily goals? How does that work out? And if you don't have that, and you just want to do it with a wing and a prayer, and let's just get this thing going, boy, there's so much energy. And I picked a partner, a co-owner, and we're going to go in this 50-50. And, ooh, that's going to work. I know him, actually. He's my brother-in-law, and this is going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Family can be tough. And also, people change. Your partner, your co-owner, 2 years from now decides, you know, I'm going to give this another year and then I'm going to bail out, I think, and my wife and I want to move. Oh, well, that's interesting. What am I going to do? I thought you were going to hang in there with me for 10, 15 years. I thought that was our plan. Yeah, I know, but things have changed. Well, how do you deal with that? And if you don't think about that before it happens as to who to pick for your co-owner, that's going to slap you in the face.
Oh, yeah.
5 years from now, and you didn't think about it.
We need to take a quick break.
Let's do it.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Thank you, Pete.